every negative answer is sin, and every positive answer is Jesus. What's wrong with the world today? Sin. What's going to save the world? Jesus. To a Marxist, same shit, right? The difference is change sin for capitalism and Jesus for socialism. I'm not really sure that, the state corralling kids into buildings for 8 hours a day and then loading them up with homework is super helpful either. Computer, make these guys super gay and horny.
Computer, show me his balls.
Computer, testicular torsion.
No.
Roll the intro.
You don't want the war. We don't want the war, so why does it go on?
Sounds like you're talking about a wild animal.
Maybe I am.
But this thought was a nuclear bomb.
The most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
I call upon all nations to stop these terrorist killers.
Now what's his drive?
I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is.
Yes.
Russia. That was all bullshit. You can jail a revolutionary, but you can't jail a revolutionary.
It's there's freedom in the United States that there isn't in any other country. And it's the freedom to produce a socialist movement or a socialist party that doesn't exist elsewhere.
But how do you have one?
I'm trying.
All right, everybody.
Hey.
Welcome once again to Chairman Lmao. I'm David.
I'm Jay.
And today we're just going to hash out some AI thoughts that have been rolling around in our heads,
Yeah, I guess we could start out with just what is AI? Because we've been using the word AI to describe stuff for a while now, like playing video games you would play against the AI even in the early 2000s, but that's not really what we're talking about, right?
I mean, it kind of is what we're talking about. The technology is sort of rooted in the same thing. I guess what I want to talk about with regard to AI is automation, and how automation has worked throughout history in industrial capital, in the age of industrial capital, that is, and how we can as socialists think about AI usage and what this all means for us. That's sort of where I want to take the episode.
Yeah. I mean, I guess automation is going to have a huge impact on labor, necessarily, right? Everyone already knows that there's been a lot of layoffs in many fields due to, those industries integrating AI into their workflows or whatever.
Right.
But we've seen mixed results to that effect. I mean, when giant companies like Coca-Cola use AI in their advertisements, people actually get kind of mad about that.
Yeah. But I mean, okay. So I guess the question is, what are they mad about really?
They're mad that those jobs don't exist anymore, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
the advertising industry has been kind of, going through some serious changes for since the transition from TV to internet as the primary source of media consumption for people.
Right. Yeah, I mean, small-time graphic designers really had a boom, after in the internet era, in the 2000s,
Yeah.
But, and all of those small-time graphic designers, their jobs are currently under threat because of, the advent of AI or LLMs, That's one thing I wanted to sort of start the conversation with is I think AI is a bit of a misnomer, right? The idea that, perhaps it is intelligent on some level, artificially or whatever, perhaps it is an artificial intelligence, I mean. But, in so many ways, all of human society functions something like an artificial intelligence, we invest in certain companies and pull our money out of certain companies on, the basis of what we think is going to be productive, and all of this is kind of vaguely related to cybernetic theory or whatever.
But I think that why it's artificial intelligence, it's emulating what people do already. artificial intelligence kind of aims to do what people are capable of doing well, for the most part.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, we already use computers to do all of this trading and stuff that I mentioned, like just just a few seconds ago, right?
Yeah, like it's trained on the results, the way people formulate. I guess it doesn't understand the way people formulate their answers to questions. It only understands the types of answers that people give to questions.
You and I are a little bit talking about two distinct things, right? Like I'm talking about like the technology that's in place to trade stocks at like a millisecond, like on the basis of its predictions at a millisecond level, right? What you're talking about is like large language models that are designed to mimic like human language.
Yeah.
You know, but they're all part of the same technology, you know, and really the difference is that like, I'm trying to think here. Okay. So like when I was in college, I was studying electrical engineering, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that we were learning about at the time, which this would have been in, 2017 or 2016, something like that. We were talking about, like computer vision is how we talked about it, and basically it was like, you take a lot of pictures of a ball or a dog or a cat or whatever, and you tell the computer, this is a cat, this is a cat, this is a cat, and you do it again and again and again, and eventually, you can train
captchas.
Right. It's essentially exactly it's captchas, and the idea there is that like, you can eventually get to the point where once you have enough input data and you've trained it well enough, you can get to the point where a car could navigate with a computer and a camera, right?
Yeah.
But NVIDIA, and I'm not sure what year NVIDIA did this, but NVIDIA essentially figured out a way to do like neural networks on their graphics processing units.
Mm-hmm. Which is why their stock was, so heavily backed.
Yeah. Well, it's currently one of the most, I'm pretty sure their market cap is like one of the highest in the world right now.
Yeah, there's been some more volatility in it recently. It's been kind of going up and down. But yeah, it's still really, really high. Right.
But once NVIDIA like worked out how to make all of this processing work on their hardware, it sort of enabled like the type of training that I just described to happen at a much faster and cheaper rate, so the compute costs for that has gone like way down with the change in hardware, basically moving from a CPU to a GPU.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit talking out of my ass on this because like there are technical people who have better knowledge of this kind of thing, but this is sort of the outline of like what's gone down in the last like 10 years or so with respect to like LLM, AI, technology, whatever, right?
Yeah, and it's, using that technology to sort of crystallize past human work into, like, I don't know, infrastructure that replaces human workers.
Okay, it's time to get real theoretical Marxist here, okay? Let's really dive in, okay? Because if you think that capitalism is well described by the contradiction of bourgeois society and the industrial forces of production. If you think that that's a good definition, essentially what capitalism is like the regime of the accumulation of capital, right? Everything that we do in our society, well, not everything that we do, but much of what our society does is dictated by the accumulation of capital. And what it actually means for capital to accumulate, like to like a Marxist value theorist or whatever, is actually for dead labor to accumulate.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of comes down to the question of, is it like a loom or like plagiarism?
Right. Well, okay, so like what do we
When I say a
mean
loom, I mean like,
like a
is it a
mechanical loom?
tool? Yeah, is it like a tool that empowers workers to create more and, increases the value a worker can have as an individual? Or is it like using the work of humans without their permission to create a profit?
Well, let's just like let's zoom out, okay? Let's I want to get to exactly what you're discussing, but I think that we got to back up a little bit.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, 10,000 foot. Okay, so we're right now looking at the microcosm. We're on our feet staring at the ground, and the ground is AI, right? Zooming out to about 10,000 feet view, right? We live in the regime of the accumulation of capital, right? Meaning dead labor. When you go to work, right, your time is spent, your time is gone after that. But
don't I know it?
What you have produced in that time stays within capitalism, right? And continues to aid in the reproduction of capital. That's just part of what capitalism is. That's part of what it means, right?
Yeah.
Zooming out from a 10,000 foot view to looking at like the whole fucking planet, and honestly, well, yeah, like the whole fucking planet, right? Anytime that a biological organism converts something into something else, it's doing it on some exchange basis, and it's doing it for its own like benefit, right? So there's some like element of capital accumulation that's present in biology itself, right? But like what I'm saying is that we live under the regime where that is like the dominant force for human society. Law. It's more than the law. It's our social relations.
Yeah, but like these companies have like they have to do it. They have to do whatever's best for the shareholders. They can't do what's best for the workers.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, yeah, basically that is part of the law. But honestly, like the business wouldn't be there if it wasn't trying to accumulate capital. You don't even need the law for that, really. That's kind of scary, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's some, biological element. There's some biological drive or whatever to accumulate like energy for like a purpose to do more like reproduction, basically. And the question is like, what does that imply broadly? Like for socialists, what I want to say is that we want to harness that power for human ends.
Yeah. I mean, elaborate on what you mean by for human ends, because companies are still made of people.
Well, currently, all of the people who work in those companies have to engage in capital reproduction for the sake of capital reproduction.
Mm-hmm.
Really, we should be doing it for the people who are producing in order to... Yeah. I mean, we really want...
How does AI factor into that?
How does AI factor? Okay, I think we should go back to now what you were talking about. So like, yeah, let's just like roll back the clock a little bit and take a look at the Luddites, right? You have these are not the Luddites, but you have a group, you have weaving, or spinning rather. You have spinning as an artisan profession, right? So someone who's a spinner, likely a woman or a child, right? Most likely a woman, has a spinner in their home, right? And they go into the market and they purchase the wool and they spin the wool into thread, right? To be made into garments. Okay. You have the invention of the steam engine, right? Which kind of paves the way for like all of this mechanical reproduction to occur. Okay.
The cotton gin and all that.
Yeah. I'm not I don't think the cotton gin is steam powered, but it is the cotton gin comes after the steam engine.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong about that, but I don't think so.
I'll Google that. Keep talking.
Eli Whitney, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a funny kind of quirk about the whole Eli Whitney thing, because he thought that in creating the cotton gin, he would reduce the necessary labor time of the slaves. But what actually happened was, because the cotton gin came into being coincidentally, sorry, my cat's yelling at me. Hi. Do I
Yeah,
need
it
to
was either turned by hand or powered by a horse.
Right.
Originally.
But because the cotton gin came into being around the same time as, excuse me, what? Come here.
Yeah, it was about 50 more years until they started putting steam engines in them.
Right. Whoa. Just flashed everybody. Cat's being crazy now. I'm sorry. Because the cotton gin came into being around the same time as like mechanical textile production, instead of the cotton gin reducing the necessary labor time of slaves, they just made them process more cotton.
Yeah. Cotton just became cheaper for a consumer.
Right. So yeah, I mean,
Savings were passed on to the consumer rather than the worker.
Typically, the Marxists look at automation is that, like, yeah, automation would be great if we had socialism, because you could actually reduce the necessary labor time, because you don't have to, because you can, like, you're not subject to the demand of capital accumulation, right? The workers are actually in charge of what they're producing.
Totally.
Where was I? Oh yeah, back on the like mechanized textile production stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So all of these, once the factories come into play and you have the mechanical loom in play powered by steam, the Luddites, which were a group in England at the time, I believe, went to the factories and they smashed the looms because it was taking their jobs.
Yeah.
Well, it was taking their their entire livelihood, right?
Yeah.
Because once you start doing that kind of production in a factory, the worker no longer owns the thing that they're producing the material on,
Yeah.
And so they're subject to a wage now. They're not actually like an artisan producer. So
yeah, you're not bringing your yarn to the market to be sold. You're going to a factory and making 2,000 shirts a day.
That's right.
At the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory with 0 rights when the building burns down.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Luddites smashed the looms, and then the capitalists are like, oh, fuck, like the Luddites smashed our looms. And so they rebuild the looms, and then they hire armed guards to protect them.
Yeah.
So there's a pattern, within the various like industrial revolutions that have occurred over the course of, capitalism.
So now the armed guard is also a loom in itself.
Yeah, I mean, you talking about like flock cameras and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've worked a security gig.
Right.
Like being a doorman.
Right.
So
a computer and mechanized locks can do that.
Yeah, probably better than me. I have to know everyone who lives in the 27th floor building. It's a lot of work for the first month there. I'm not going to do the best job. So yeah, there's like a training period and there's like a learning period in that. But a computer only has to do that once. Or, you take a picture of yourself when you move into the building or whatever.
They got to pay. Yeah. They got to pay you benefits,
Yeah, I was a unionized worker.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they still do that in New York. I mean, that's still a pretty protected job there, but I think in general, that sort of position is going to change in a lot of places.
Sure. Do you think I've gone far enough into detail on the dead labor shit?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of thinking more about how it harvested human output to sort of put together like a regurgitation that is now sanitized of its creator in a way that allows it to be exploited more cleanly.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty deep topic. I'm going to be super real with you. Like, I think, but yeah, I do think that like with each reification of, labor into capital, into commodity, into money, it's like this whole cycle that occurs, kind of with each, like over time. What happens is like we start to think about these relations as like they become like more real to us, even though they're kind of fucked up because we can just produce as much of whatever as we want given, material labor, so there are just like a lot of things that sort of start to clash with the way that like we have our ideals and our morals. And when you start involving industrial production, like, I mean, one of the main crises that comes from capitalism is, unemployment, right? Like sort of like the best thing that capitalism provides is jobs, right? Because in previous modes of production, right, more than likely, if you spawn on Earth, you're somebody's slave.
It beats serfdom, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, within a certain time frame, obviously, like.
Yeah. I mean, I like bread and cheese and mutton, but.
Yeah, I mean, look, post like the development of agriculture, like you're likely a person who's very subservient to someone else, and capitalism and labor provides like a much more equitable foundation for society, right? But it doesn't go all the way, and that's sort of what socialism is supposed to do.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about like these sort of digitized clones of deceased, I don't know, musicians, like Tupac, or like, I don't know, even just putting an actor into a movie digitally after they die using AI?
I mean, at the level of artwork, I find a lot of that stuff incredibly distasteful, know? But like, what do I want to say, that it should be like illegal or something? Probably not, like I kind of have, I'm kind of, unfortunately, I'm like a cringe Marxist. And I think that to some extent, you just got to like let the forces of production rip so that the working class can like get its bread and organize itself.
Yeah. It's a shame when entertainment, like culture, suffers because these corporations can get away with feeding us slop because the people around us don't even always realize they're consuming it.
Right. We're hardly the first, Marxists to deal with the problem of like how art and society degrade under capitalism,
Totally.
I think, I mean, shit, like Walter Benjamin is probably Walter Benjamin is the main example of like someone who wrote criticism about this kind of thing he has a work called The Making of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction, or it's like The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction, something like that. And essentially, he takes a really hard look at like the development of art through capital and industrial production. He shows how the value of an image sort of changes with the advent of photography, and how like it doesn't really, like, who cares about the original print of a photograph? you can just get another print of the photograph, and it doesn't actually hold any real significance.
Other than the artist having touched it.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm talking about the print, not even the actual, piece of film, right?
That's fair. Oftentimes, even professional photographers aren't doing their own blackroom printing from film. I don't know. I'm so in the digital age, David. I don't know how film photography really happened.
That's fair enough. But I mean,
For me, it was like a fun art project we did in high school a few times.
Right. I mean, film is great. It's like chemical and.
It was a fun art project. I remembered it.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this before, but I prefer shooting on film because I'm a bad digital photographer. That's my excuse.
And I prefer film, taking pictures on digital because I take 800 and I use 10.
Yeah, see, and I prefer, I want to be taking 10 photos and using 8 of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Although there is so much that pisses me off about my digital camera. Every single time I use it, the viewfinder looks perfect. I pull the shutter, something's off in the final shot. I gotta spend 5 minutes fucking with settings. By the time I go for it again, it's not the same moment. I've missed it. It happens all the time. It was happening to me the other day, and I just gave up and pulled out my phone and started taking pictures with my phone instead because, God damn it, it always looks okay.
Right. Well, and that's okay. So this is great, right? So my mom studied photography, for a long time. Eventually, did like pro photography, stuff like that. When I was a kid, she lent me her cameras and would teach me how to use them, and
Sure.
For me as a kid, like the controls were like aperture, shutter speed, and ISO,
Yeah.
and it's like
those make sense.
Yeah, 100% it makes sense. Yeah. So yeah,
They're mechanical features of the camera that describe different little things within the body of the camera that you are adjusting and the lens, like distances and ratios,
right.
rather than just like, I don't know, a setting like, oh, I should have been in this different mode.
Right. And this is 14 years ago, right? So fast forward to now, and if I grab my girlfriend's iPhone in any setting, point the camera at the thing I want to take a picture of, it will capture the image, and I don't have to think about the exposure or the aperture. I just don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Right.
I mean, is that kind of just like, there's a simplicity to it, but you have to nail it right, like correctly aspect to it that almost makes it feel like shooting a gun, right? Like you have to just like,
yes. There really is.
Yeah.
Well, and okay, let's just compare. Let's just keep talking about photography for a moment, right? Like,
yeah,
in the old days, a sports photographer, would be expected to take photos, right? But they're going to be more selective about the photos they take because every time they run out of film, they have to change the canister and they might miss something on the field, right?
Or they have a second camera.
Well, in a lot of cases, yeah, they often had a second camera, right? But even still, right? Like now with the advent of digital photography, it's like they have to constantly be taking photos.
Yeah.
They don't actually get to choose when they take a photo. They have to constantly take photos and then select from the photos afterward.
You've taken the work from the shooting to the editing. Right.
Which, I mean, it's a change in the artwork, but I think it's also somewhat of a degradation.
So what does that have to do with AI?
Well, AI is mechanizing intellectual production.
Yeah, but I don't think using AI in your production is the same as using a digital camera.
Why not?
AI is amalgamating other people's work from their digital cameras to create something that fulfills what you've asked it.
Okay. But the automatic exposure and shutter speed and ISO that are in place on the iPhone, that was labor too.
And that will use AI
Well, I mean,
or some variation of machine learning to figure out exactly which type of HDR is the best to apply to your photograph.
I'm going to lock the cat out. He's going to be annoying.
Sure. Poor boy. I'm jumping.
Get out of here, Zod.
He's a little stinky baby who poops on the floor. And that's why he is so angry. You like jazz? I've been listening to jazz lately. That's been a good time. Just enjoying instrumental music in general a bit more.
I think we're going to have to call this episode It's All Dead Labor. Because...
Oh, I thought you were saying end it. Yeah, okay.
No. I think we're going to have to call this episode It's All Dead Labor. Because, that's sort of what I'm identifying in the iPhone as well as the trained LLM that does generative images, right? Is that some engineer figured out how to make the ISO work every time perfectly, every time you push the shutter button on your iPhone, right? And somebody took 100 photos or thousands of photos and they're stylized and an LLM was trained on them, right? And the LLM may have been trained without permission even, and the labor of the engineer was exchanged under the willing conditions of the engineer,
Mm-hmm.
But with each technological development, right, something is appropriated. You know what I mean? Under capitalism anyway. So in the case of the weavers, right, the looms are sort of appropriated. But the reason that the looms are appropriated is because the mechanical looms are far more capable of producing at a faster rate, right? And the generative AI thing is a similar thing in my book.
Maybe. I think the purpose of a digital camera is to have the photograph you want more easily. The purpose of the iPhone processing is to make sure the photograph you took on your cell phone is like good enough to show your friends what you did.
Yeah.
And I think the purpose of like AI image generation is to like,
well, these technologies change the nature
quickly
of
and cheaply put something together.
Sorry for
as almost a brainstorming step. Like
Mhm.
if you don't have an idea of what you need to do, but you need something there, you ask AI,
I mean, yeah. I mean, personally, I don't get a lot of use out of that, but like, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like, well, the thing is like, the technology develops right under capitalism, and then it's appropriated and used for capital reproduction. When that happens, the nature of the thing that's being produced changes, right? We don't really care that much about photographs anymore. Like, we do care about them, but the only photographs that we care about are the ones taken by cell phones and posted on Instagram.
Like you wouldn't
To a large
go
extent.
to a museum to look at photographs very often.
Very rarely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very rarely.
And they're often from before a time with digital cameras because it's as much about seeing how people used to do things as it is about the shots that were taken themselves. It's almost
Right.
a history lesson when it's in a museum.
But I don't see the development of, the digital camera as like a net negative entirely, right? Like there are positives and negatives, right? The positive is that I can take photos whenever I want and they look decent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, the thing is, it's not all museums, right? We look at art everywhere, especially if you're in a city, you're walking down the street, there's billboards on cabs, there's, things plastered on the sides of buses. And like, maybe that's designed to a certain extent, but like, there's an element of art to it. And if that's taken away from those things, then there's less art around us.
Right. Well, the negative side of digital photography is that I no longer care about the shot. Not nearly as much as I do when I paid $7 for the roll of film and I have 24 shots. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I'm proud of myself when I took a good shot. I've been doing a lot of like concert photography lately, and when out of the 2,000 shots, there's one that just speaks to me. And I post it online, and other people really like it, and it does better than my other posts. It feels good.
Yeah, but like, okay, at the one photographer to another, 2K shots for one? No, I know you're being a little bit hyperbolic, but like,
A little bit. I took
Yeah.
800 shots basically per set at Compost Heap.
okay.
And most of them were out of focus because I was using a 50 mil lens for action shots.
It's a rough game. You remember when I took my flash camera to a live gig? Or my film camera with the big flash attachment?
I have one of those big flashes. I haven't actually really used it, but I have one, and I don't know. I've seen good shots taken with those before, but I think it's really hard to get everything set right for a flash photograph.
For the listeners, I'll put in some photos I've taken on. I'll put in a couple photos of Jaye that I've taken that I'm referencing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Put some of mine in too if you want.
Actually, yeah. Send me some photos. We'll put them in.
Sweet.
You know, whatever. This is art too. Yeah. So I mean, look, the mechanical reproductive element of like art or whatever fundamentally changes how we experience the art, right? Like a movie is not the same thing as a play, right?
Yeah.
There's like in all, like I think Walter Benjamin talks about this, but like in all of mechanically reproduced art, right? There's sort of like an aura that he calls it like an aura that is like lost, you know, because it is like no longer special because it can be reproduced.
That's kind of still how we use the word aura today. Is like doing stuff because it's cool.
Walter Benjamin is the GOAT. Okay.
Yeah.
His thesis on the thesis on the concept of history. Fucking incredible writing. Very much big fan of Walter Benjamin.
Yeah, like doing things in a unique way. Like there's an element of like I don't know, just creating history to having aura, right? Like being a weirdo but confident is aura.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we should move to sort of like addressing a lot of like the contemporary left discussion surrounding AI, because
People hate it.
Yeah, people clearly hate it, you know.
And there's good reasons to hate it. I mean, kids aren't reading books. They're not even writing papers. They're not even, I don't know, learning how to put sentences together properly.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I've been complaining about, you know, I think literacy is in the toilet, and I think it has been for decades, probably.
Yeah, you probably read more than anyone I know.
Yeah, I mean, I probably read more than, well, I know people who read more than me, but the point is that I just don't think people know how to read. Like, you can read words off a page, but do you understand what they're saying? Like, often I think the case is no.
Yeah, I don't understand how everyone did so well on the SATs when applying for colleges, and then now suddenly can't read a book.
It's because the standards, are you talking about like when you and I were in high school-ish?
Yeah, I guess I graduated in high school in 2015.
Yeah, you're a year earlier than me. But like the, you know, even when we were in high school, I think the standards were significantly degraded as compared to, you know, the past. But like, what is education?
Yeah,
for?
I mean, I always did pretty well in reading comprehension and struggled in other sections comparatively.
What is education? What, like, you know, primary education is largely just daycare. I'm sorry. Like, it truly functions as daycare. Like, your mom has to work, right? And so the state has to socialize you. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's the way they do it.
Sounds very homeschooled, but okay, continue.
I was homeschooled. I'll just disclose that. But and I do have a bit of a positive bias toward homeschooling because I actually had a positive experience there, but I recognize that that's not universal, like at all. So honestly, broadly, homeschooling is not helpful. But I will say that, like,
Yeah.
I'm not really sure that, the state corralling kids into buildings for 8 hours a day and then loading them up with homework is super helpful either.
No.
So, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, right? That's kind of how I feel about that one.
Yeah, schools don't do a good job fostering an enjoyment of learning.
Well, I think school used to, at the inception of public schooling, I think the idea was, they want to prepare you for like the workforce,
Yeah.
But over time, as women have been more proletarianized, like the function has changed, and also the like intellectual threshold for entering the workforce has been lowered because you don't have to have crazy skills to do most jobs these days.
Totally. They can train you for most jobs in a few days.
Right. Which, that's capitalism for you.
They probably will only give you a few days of training for most jobs.
Well, I mean, back in the early days of bourgeois society before capitalism, right? You'd be part of a guild, and the guild fucking owned you. You didn't do work unless it was sanctioned by the guild. The guild set the prices, and more than likely, if your dad worked in a certain trade and was in that guild, you would also be in that guild. You know what I mean?
Now that's only the case for actors.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where were we going with all this? We were talking about the attitudes of people toward AI. Yeah, I mean, like the sentiment that I see online is just like, never use AI, all data center bad, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like,
Posted to data center.
What's that?
Posted to data center.
Yeah, uploaded through, a data center, of course. I mean, well, the only
This post may contain AI.
I have to say, in real life, I don't really encounter very many people who are just like, so opposed to AI that they would get mad at you for using it or whatever. I will say that
Depends on the context. Like if it's something that's supposed to be creative and you've used AI for it, people do get mad. Like if you create a poster for an event using AI,
cardinal sin.
Yeah.
Cardinal sin. No, actually, I was at work a few days ago, and I have a coworker who's like a DJ, and he's actually played at Chrysalis. Or I think it maybe
is awesome.
Yeah. He's like a DJ.
If you're in Denver.
Yeah, if you're in Denver, check out Chrysalis. It's a cool spot. But he was talking about like someone who locally produced someone local who like produced a poster using AI, and how everyone kind of came at him in the comment section. And I think my coworker also was like viscerally opposed to the poster being made with AI because, the reason my coworker gave was because there are plenty of people in our scene who are willing to do that kind of thing. Which you would have to pay for somebody to do, I mean, look, if you're a gigging musician, like an actually gigging musician, you might be playing like multiple shows a week. That is like, between 100 and 200 shows a year.
It's a lot of posters, man.
It's a lot of posters, and if you're a competent graphic designer, you can whip that up real quick, but paying someone for something like that is like pretty
unlikely.
It's pretty unlikely. And to be fair, in this case, very unlikely that they're a gigging musician such that they're playing multiple gigs a week, and it might have been reasonable for them to reach out to somebody. But
it's less good if it's made with AI.
Yeah, well, people hate it. And this is what I mean when I say like, oh yeah, I sort of have like a very like when I see something that's like AI produced in the name of artwork, I have sort of like a negative response to it, because I feel like it's, especially if it's like obvious.
Yeah, I mean, we make YouTube videos. When I pull up a YouTube video that's like talking about a topic that I'm trying to learn about, and a few minutes in, I'm starting to realize that the speech sounds pretty robotic and it might be AI. I'm likely to click off the video.
Yeah. Someone close to me is regularly fooled by like an AI narration, thinking that it's a real person telling a real story.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. My mom, especially, all the time will send me like videos of cats that are AI that she thinks are real.
Yeah. I mean, that's like,
But she talks about how she doesn't like AI pretty regularly.
oof.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be, if you think you're susceptible to being fooled by it, that would be more of a reason to dislike it.
I think so.
And to be fair, I have been, I would say I've been fooled by an AI, by like thinking that something generated by AI was real.
She's a bit hypocritical about it though, because she uses AI really regularly. She asks ChatGPT stuff that she could very easily just Google.
Well, I think it's pretty okay. So like, first of all, the technology that's incorporated into what we currently think of as AI, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever, that compute technology has existed for decades, okay? And it was incorporated into social media, and it was used in how algorithms work, and it's still used in how algorithms work. It's just more efficient now, right?
Yeah.
So really any post on social media, on some level, you're seeing like an AI sees it before an AI gives it to you. And it's always been like that. Except
Honestly,
for
you might have
MySpace
even
and perhaps
noticed
early.
it's pretty hard to stop scrolling these days. They know how to keep you locked on to your screen.
Oh, it's a total nightmare,
They've gotten better at it. I used to be better at putting my phone down more often. And I don't think it's all just me getting more used to being on my phone all the time. I think it's, they're getting better at giving me what I want to see.
Yeah, I mean that's achieved through, research, data.
Yeah.
But it's not as though that kind of thing wasn't around before, the quote modern age of AI. Another reason, okay, let's talk about another reason that people really hate AI, right? And it's because they think that it steals from people.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was mentioning plagiarism for.
Yeah. That's the core issue. That's the core issue that those people are pointing to. I just think, like, much in the same way that, like, we're not prepared to deal with anything on the level of, like, much how the weavers couldn't deal with the looms, There's nothing that, like, me as a normal, ordinary worker can do to stop, like, the fucking forces of production from rolling forward under capitalism. So,
Yeah.
the looms, it's not as though the physical looms were stolen, from the weavers, right? But the technology was replicated in such a way that their jobs could be done at a pace that outstripped them. And this is the same thing.
Yeah. There's more to the moral aspect, I guess, because there's like an ecological component and like a lack of regulation around how these data centers are built that isn't necessary. Like a lot of people don't necessarily hate AI. They hate that this thing popped up in their town and now it's loud all the time and the water's brown.
My opposition to AI, for the most part, is the construction of data centers, especially as regards to the building materials as well as the fucking energy requirements, right?
Yeah.
Because
Like,
most
the ones that use
municipalities,
more water are quieter. The ones that don't use as much water are louder. It's an issue however you slice it. There's like always like a component that's being like expended that is like a little too much. And
right?
it's like always done recklessly.
I mean, this is look again though, like this is a problem for the people in power. Like, and I don't like this is a problem for capital to solve. Okay, the problem is there's an
I don't
energy.
like the solution they've found.
What solution? They haven't found a solution. They're
The
literally
solution is make the people deal with it.
yeah. I mean, look, the thing is, like, look, it's not just the data centers that are going to have a problem with power if we don't have like a beefy enough grid. Or sorry, excuse me. It's not just like the people who live in municipalities who are going to be affected by data centers if we don't have a beefy enough grid. The data centers themselves will be affected, right? And the whole world relies on the data centers. Capital relies on the data centers, and it will rely on the data centers increasingly going forward.
It's perhaps our biggest industry as a country right now.
Trillions of dollars are going into this industry. It's going to get used. You know what I mean? And honestly, I don't fucking care about the AI bubble because there was a .com bubble, but leading up to
use websites still.
Leading up to the .com bubble popping, what happened was we laid a bunch of fiber, and now you can get terabyte internet virtually all over the country.
Or terabit, I guess.
Sorry,
yeah.
Terabit fiber all over the country, right?
Yeah.
But the reason that that's possible is because of the infrastructure build out prior to the AI bubble popping.
Mm-hmm.
So something similar may happen with regard to the data center construction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's important we build the infrastructure right if we intend to use it for all these years.
Well, it's capitalism. We're not getting that, buddy.
I know, but all of these criticisms of how the Grok data centers are in particular using like methane to be powered instead of like
nightmare.
Like we don't need to do that. Like this is our country's flaw and like resistance to renewable energy as much as like it is on the data centers itself. Like if America had some friggin' wind farms, it'd be fine. We do have some, but I don't know.
Oh, I think we just need nuclear power. But
yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, that would be fine. But it has to be like if we're doing that, it has to be really regulated, way better than these methane reactors.
Oh, I'm not that worried about nuclear power plants failing. I know it's happened. I know it's happened, but like there are plenty of nuclear power plants that have been operational for a long time at this point, to where we've seen, you know, what the failures look like, and like with Chernobyl, much of the failures were related to like negligence, you know, which likely scenario again under capitalism, but you know, we might get some negligent power plant operators. I mean, isn't that the plot of The Simpsons?
Kind of what I was describing is negligence. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that Homer
Simpson? Oh my God. Yeah.
Homer Simpson's job, right, is to be the negligent power plant like, you know, that's like his job.
Yeah. It's funny how Simpsons almost stands as a joke for how people in that generation weren't qualified for their jobs.
Yeah. But I mean, it's true. Like people are not generally quote qualified for their jobs, right? They got trained and they do the work. Like,
yeah,
I guess that's qualified enough. But so yeah, you know, okay, so at the level of like morality, okay, like if I were to, using my own hardware, go on to the internet that was, you know, accessible to me and not paywalled in any sort of way, download a bunch of images and train a large language model to reproduce that sort of image,
To make Mr. Beast thumbnails for us?
To make Mr. Beast style thumbnails for us, because we need the big view numbers. We need the high subscriber count.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
we should give away a Tesla.
We should
a Toyota pickup truck with a mounted machine gun.
We should put people in a shipping crate. We should put 10 people in a shipping crate, and the last one to voluntarily leave the shipping crate gets the Tesla.
That's right.
Yeah, see,
you have to torture people, otherwise it's not a Mr. Beast video.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a Mr. Beast video without torture. But if I go on the internet, the publicly available internet, and I take these things and I train my computer to like reproduce a certain type of image or whatever, like I don't really have like a moral issue with something like that. Like, again, but going back to what Walter Benjamin talks about in The Making of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction, he says that like students of art copy, the masters of the past in order to learn like the craft. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, my dad certainly painted a lot of Picasso copies when he was learning how to paint.
Yes.
But the art that he puts in galleries are not the Picasso copies.
Well, and I think that if you're generating something, like let's say I train on a bunch of Picasso and I want to or I train on Picasso and something else, and I have a particular something in mind that I want to generate, I can intentionally train the AI on different sets of images, and my decision as far as which images to train the AI on is a form of labor, kind of. Like, I am making choices when I have this like input into the machine, and when the machine delivers an output, I can say yes or no and publish it or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I did design it in a sense.
I mean, the value of art is already a really questionable thing. If we go back to like the NFT boom, like art was valued in a way where it was like almost like a stock. It was valued based on how much you expect to sell it for rather than what it means to you. And
right.
I think that there's always been an element of that to art, especially when you buy art from an artist that is in a museum.
I mean, with art, you have use and you have exchange, right? With everything, with everything produced, you have the use value of the item and the exchange value of the item, right? If you have a one-of-a-kind Picasso, the use value of that is millions of dollars, probably.
You could put that in a room and get people to spend $30 to walk into the room to look at it all day long.
I've done that. But I've been one of those poor suckers to look at a Picasso. Anyway,
totally.
And it was worth it.
I got like hard to let me go to the Metropolitan Museum whenever I want.
Yeah.
I don't even live in New York.
Fucking New Yorker. Goddamn. All of your fucking socialized museums.
Well, you have to pay to go to the Met as of 2 years ago. It's not even free anymore.
Damn.
Yeah, right? It was when I was a kid, tell you what.
And I bet you went there frequently.
All the time. It was down the street from where I lived.
Right. I'm sorry, where was I? Talking about production, art. Oh yeah, the use and exchange value. So yeah, the use value of a Picasso might be millions, right? Of an original Picasso. But the exchange value of a Picasso print is just whatever it costs to print it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Maybe a little more. Whatever, slightly more than the cost of printing, but yeah.
Well, no, because you don't have to pay Picasso. Because he's dead. His estates.
Yeah, you have to pay for like the building to sell it, the guy that sits in the building that sells it.
For Marx, that's factored into the production cost.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought production as in like creating.
I got you. I got you.
Yeah.
The point is that, I have artwork hanging up in my house that's original, right? And there really is no exchange. I mean, I could exchange it, but it doesn't really have an exchange value in the way that like one of the prints on your wall does, because you literally printed it at home on your printer. Am I wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Right, or many of them. Yeah.
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Or they were from magazines, but yeah.
Right.
Or books.
And unfortunately, like, look, I don't, as like a regular dude, like I have zero control over like how the forces of production like change the value of artwork. Used to mean a lot more to play a live gig. Used to mean a lot more to record music. Used to.
In some ways. Like it used to mean more to play a live gig before you could watch whatever show you want on YouTube in your room on your big 60-inch TV at the foot of your bed. But
before the phonograph.
It means more to go to the show now that so much art is, you know, squeaky clean, edited, final product. It means more to see what that guy can do in that room.
I mean, look, the only way I know how to talk about this is to keep repeating ourselves, giving different examples, right? Before the phonograph, the only way you could experience music was through live music, right?
Mm-hmm.
After the phonograph, you get recordings, you know? And then recordings, right. The recordings become more and more ubiquitous, right? Which devalues the, like performance, like side of things, you know? And now and what that produces is crises of artwork. And now we get Taylor Swift and her tickets are thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So like her tickets are thousands of dollars, and the sound engineer's objective is to make it sound like the record.
Yeah, because you're not even going to hear the performance. You're going to literally see the guy.
Yeah.
Or Taylor Swift or Harry Styles or whoever.
Correct. Yeah.
Because you'll never be in the same room as the guy that made all the music you care about otherwise.
Right. But let's you know what, let's look at another example of artistry that involves what a lot of people considered to be theft, which is hip hop.
Sampling? Yeah, or even electronic music, just like the whole disco scene of spinning records together.
Well, the origin of hip hop sampling begins with having two copies of the same record. Copies, right? Having two copies of the same record and playing the same part on loop, right? Picking up the needle, putting it down. And then, you know, that groove is established and then you rap over it. Right? That's like sort of the like initial impetus.
Yeah, until the Akai. Yeah.
Right. So initially it's just that like back and forth, same sample played on the same or different copies of the same record.
That's
right?
the difference between 80s and 90s hip hop.
Right. Well, it gets more complicated obviously because people get more artsy with working the turntables and stuff like that. But you know, early hip hop artists had serious legal problems because they would incorporate samples of artists without clearing the samples for use, right?
Yeah, and sometimes the beat's more popular than the verse.
You mean
Kanye West Stronger made Daft Punk more popular because that beat was more popular than what he was rapping over it.
Many such cases.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, on some level, like at the level of like my bourgeois sensibilities, I'm like, yeah, well, the original artist should get some pay for that. But on another level, I'm like, this is just a different song.
Sometimes.
Yeah, Vanilla Ice is an exception, right? But like I'm talking about like maybe there's a heavy usage of sampling in a song, but it transforms into a completely different feeling than the original song gives, you know? And to me, as like a musician, that is simply a different song. And I really don't think that the original person who created the sample should be credited for something like that. I mean, not should be credited, but should be paid specifically for something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a fine line between sampling a song and creating a remix of a song.
Yeah, look, on some level, if you think that using these samples or whatever without clearing them is like wrong, like you're defending the private property of primarily corporations, frankly.
Because the artists aren't getting paid enough anyways, not based on the album sales.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, okay, look, bringing it back into the AI discussion, right? I remember a headline about one of the AIs that does like video generation.
Sora?
I don't remember which one. But one of the AIs that does like video generation was trained on like YouTube content, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it was done so without like the consent of any of the creators or YouTube themselves or anything like that. But who really owns those videos?
Yeah, in some ways, we are actively training algorithms to argue against us better.
I want to talk about that in a minute. But who really owns the fucking YouTube videos that Sora's training on? YouTube owns the videos. It's not the creators. Yeah. You when we upload a video to YouTube, YouTube owns this content. And they distribute us pennies if we get views, which we don't, right?
Yeah.
But that's aside. Okay.
Mr. Beast's thumbnail will fix it.
Right. So, but YouTubers are creating all of this content, right? And the content is consumed by people, viewed with ads or paid through YouTube Premium. And at the end of the day, YouTube makes most of the money, right?
Yeah, same like Sora, a song with a label.
So Sora is stealing from another corporation, really. This is gang violence, okay? This is one mob group appropriating the drugs of another mob group.
Sure.
Okay. I'm drawing a rather extreme analogy. But that's really what's, going on. Like this shit that is being trained, the people who created it for the most part never owned it in the first place. Should they have? Sure. That ain't capitalism, fam.
Listen to us on our RSS feed.
That's right. Listen to us on our RSS feed.
We do own that one. We own that one.
Well, not exactly, but we don't have. It's more like we own it. It's more like
I thought you ran that from your server. You don't?
No, I will, but I don't. I will.
Mm-hmm. We will own it.
That's right. We have all kinds of ambitions. Oh yeah, but you were talking about us training the AI, and I actually kind of had. Okay, so for the past videos that we've done, I ran all the videos through a plugin on my video editor that utilizes my graphics processing unit to generate captions for YouTube specifically. And I did it. I tested it out. It works fairly well. It's got some issues.
Why you have captions now.
Yeah, it's got some issues, but that's why there's captions now with every video upload, is because I went back and I added captions to the previous videos. I did it for two reasons. The first reason is for the hearing impaired, and the second reason is because I want the AIs to get trained on us.
You want the AI? Well, I was going to do that without that, but yeah, why do you want the AIs to be trained on us?
Well, it's going to do it better if we upload the transcription.
All right. So why do you want that?
Because I want it. Well, okay, two reasons. One, I want us to be searchable, right? And two, okay, let's say that, all of this like data center production goes through. We figure out the power situation. We figure out the water situation. We fix global warming. Everything is wonderful. I don't really think this is going to happen, but let's say that this happens.
50s style, beautiful future.
Okay, you know what? Fuck it. The climate is ruined. We still have data centers. because that's the way I think it's going to go. We're going to go with that. Okay. The climate is ruined. We still have data centers. You're going to be able to, from the hours and hours and hours of us talking, you're going to be able to pretty accurately discern some of the things that we might actually say, given the fact that we've provided enough training data for like the AI or whatever, you know? So, you know, in, 100 years or 150 years, when all the dust is settled, and they're just like poking through the AIs or whatever, what would a Marxist say about X, Y, and Z? And then it comes up. And you know who influenced that? You and I.
Mm-hmm.
So I have kind of,
You're not interested in Mecha David taking over the world long after you die?
I don't care. No. I mean, well, honestly,
Or worried about it?
if we could put Marxism into an AI and then like get that AI to direct the activity of the workers to overcome, I might be, maybe there's something to that, but I don't think we have the compute power or,
if we construct Carl Prime.
Carl Prime. I mean, let's just be real though. Like, is Carl? Yeah. Look, I don't think that that's a very realistic prospect because I think that AI is not really intelligent. But I think that the self-conscious activity of the workers could be intelligent.
The self-conscious activity of the workers could be intelligent.
Yeah. And also in reference to
self-conscious activity of the, so you're saying the product of the work that the workers have done put through an algorithm could be, or no?
No, I'm just saying that like what it would mean to have a working class struggle at all would be for the working class to self-consciously struggle for socialism, meaning recognizing their position in capital and saying, actually, we are powerful enough and organized enough to take the wheel. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, look, on the one hand, you have AI data centers ruining the climate, stealing, the content created by artists, not to mention programmers. Holy shit. Okay. One last digression and then we'll end the recording. I think one of the primary functions of AI right now is in coding, right? And in accelerating programmers in their coding applications, right?
It's very powerful for that. And it makes sense for that. We're talking to a computer. Maybe a computer can help us.
Computer, make these guys super gay and horny.
Computer, show me his balls.
Computer, testicular torsion. Roll the intro. Sorry, I got totally sidetracked by testicular torsion computer. What was I talking about?
Coding.
Oh, yeah. So, the way that these AIs were trained to code was whenever you're working on a coding project with someone else, you upload the code to GitHub.
Mm-hmm.
And part of there are many, many reasons why a coder would upload their code to GitHub to share with someone else, including in professional settings, right?
Yeah, it's like the place to put your open source software.
It's not just open source.
Mm-hmm.
It's also private stuff.
Okay, yeah.
But part of the conditions of using GitHub became that GitHub could sell your code to be used for AI training. Mm-hmm. And so that's how the code that's how the AI is actually trained on the code. So, to recap, we have stolen labor in the looms. We got stolen labor in the AIs in the form of artwork and coding, right? And many, many others, and writing and many, many other things,
Probably even sewing at this point.
I mean, I'm sure there are applications, what does that imply, right? I think that implies that we need like an actual like ground up struggle for socialism, because how can we control these forces of production unless the workers are the people who are producing these things are the ones in power?
Yeah.
You know, in Christianity, there's this thing where every negative answer is sin and every positive answer is Jesus. What's wrong with the world today? Sin. What's going to save the world? Jesus. To a Marxist, same shit, right? The difference is you just change sin for capitalism and Jesus for socialism. I think
Yeah, pretty much.
I think we should end the recording.
I
Oh, okay.
like is there dead labor under socialism still?
Under the dictatorship of the proletariat, yes. Has to be.
And is there still theft of that dead labor under socialism?
Yeah, the working class will appropriate labor for its own needs. Yes.
Food for thought for next time.
Food for thought for next time. I'm undecided as to whether or not I'm going to use AI in our thumbnail production, so guess you'll find out. See you later, everybody.
Peace, y'all.
You don't want the war. We don't want the war. So why does it go on?
Sounds like you're talking about a wild animal.
Maybe I am. But this stuff doesn't look like that. My most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. I call upon all nations to stop these terrorist killers. My race is drive.
I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is. Yes. Russia, Russia, Russia. That was all bullshit. You can jail a revolutionary, but you can't jail a revolutionary.
Well, it comes down if there's freedom in the United States that there isn't in any other country. And it's the freedom to produce a socialist movement or a socialist party that doesn't exist elsewhere. I'm not even I'm trying.